K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bo and Joe Show. I am Joe Tierney, and I am here with Bodine Sanders and Adrian Ferris. Good evening, gentlemen. We had a big week, big Super Bowl Sunday special. What do you think? Let's dig right in. Let's get to the important stuff. What did we think about the halftime show?
Well, first of all, I won. Ferris won. You lost. And Crispy Bacon lost. Right? Everybody was on Cincinnati, and you were wrong. Okay, so
let's go even a little deeper. I think I won the entire playoffs. I think I have the best record. Yes, I did.
We tied.
No, we didn't tie. You were below because you went 0-4 like the first week.
Well, like I said, let's get to the important.
I have my paperwork, so you want me to go through it? And
we don't have to do that. But okay. I know the tally.
Okay.
All right. Well, I will go a step deeper as well, and I will say that I don't consider the performance of the Bengals to be a loss by any means. So I consider that game a win all the way around, regardless of the final score. I thought both teams played very well, and I think the Bengals outplayed the Rams, and personally, but didn't reflect it in the final score. So, I don't think I wouldn't consider that a loss for me.
Well, the Bengals played well. They did play well. They got a big non-interference call at the beginning of the second half that led to a 75-yard touchdown that really changed the momentum of the game. And they led it from that point until the Rams finally took the lead. Defenses obviously controlled the game for the majority of it. Odell Beckham Jr. going down was big because he was stepping up early, making some big plays, touchdown catches. So it was a good game. But I think what happened was what I said. The offensive line of the Bengals didn't hold up. Burrow got sacked 7 times, hurried a lot more. And so I think, like I said, the better team won, but it definitely was highly contested, good game. Really enjoyed it.
I did,
no
too.
doubt.
Okay, superstar. There's no such thing as participation trophies here.
I didn't say what
the Bengals lost and the Rams won. The Bengals played. They had a great season compared to where they started in their preseason rankings. Nobody predicted. I mean, literally, maybe some Bengals fans, maybe. But nobody else predicted the Bengals to get to the Super Bowl. So they had a successful season in their own right. But when you're a player and you get to the Super Bowl and you lose, it hurts. It hurts. It hurts. So that should fuel them to try to get back. They got they really do have a good team. They got a good young team. If the ownership and the executives do what they're supposed to do and get that quarterback and offensive line, they're going to be dangerous. But if they don't do it, they're going to ruin that kid's career. We've seen it before. We've seen that movie before. So kudos to the Bengals, but victory goes to the spoil. The spoils go to the victor. So the Rams won, and we got to give them credit. And Ferris, I will fall on the sword and give you the win for the playoff season.
I was just messing with you, man.
I called the score, so I'm gonna take that win all day. Because everybody else was like, "What? What did you predict the score was? Did you say like 36-29 or something? Is that what you called the score?"
Did I call us? I don't know that I called the
did.
score.
Yeah.
I think what I said was if it was going to be a blowout, it would be the Rams, but I hope that it would be a tight game. I don't remember calling a score.
What did you call Superstar? What did you call?
I said it was going to be close. I think I was close on the score. I don't know if I thought I said like 19-16, but I don't remember specifically. Okay. Well, I wasn't as concerned about that.
Well, as a former defensive player, I knew it was going to be a defensive game, and it was, because it wasn't, they weren't throwing the ball all over the field. They had a few big plays, which was to be expected. And I'm putting my basketball down because I got my basketball prop because it's now basketball season, now that football season is over with. But yeah, it was a good game. But let's talk about the halftime show.
What'd you think? I mean, there were so many reviews. People either loved it or they hated it. I think most people loved it. I thought it was great. It took me certainly back to an era. I think I like Dr. Dre. He's very talented. I like the homage to Tupac, although it wasn't the hologram that we thought it might be. There was, a little bit on the piano dedicated to him. Surprised to see 50 Cent. And I think it was humbling. You see him coming in upside down, but he wasn't coming in upside down with the ripped six-pack of his day, but he still held his own. People were saying he's coming in as the full dollar as opposed to coming in as the 50 cent. I just thought, but he's 46. I thought they all look great. Mary J. slayed it. She really, and I know that people will dispute that, but when it comes to outright singing, she certainly has the talent that a different type of talent than the gentlemen do. And Eminem, of course, he's very talented as well. So,
well,
I thought it was fun.
Eminem doesn't go anywhere without Dr. Dre, so that was good. That's a given. And then obviously Snoop Dogg and all that crew. I enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome. It had me jamming, just like everybody else was probably jamming. And when you have a controversy of some saying they didn't like it and most saying they did, that's a success. Yeah. And I believe the numbers, if I remember correctly, the numbers is 8% higher than last year.
Wow.
So you're talking about hundreds of millions of people watching that Super Bowl. So, when people say, oh, I don't watch NFL because Eminem took a knee. Well, guess what? Bite your nose off to spite your face. It was a great game. No, it was a good game and outstanding halftime show. So when you look at the total package, pre-game, game, post-game, great weekend. We kicked it off with our first annual Super Bowl podcast show that went well. So no, it was a great weekend.
Yeah, when it comes to halftime shows, the bottom line in my book is this: the people that always cried that it was terrible, it was a preconceived notion. They were going to think it was terrible before they even saw it because they just don't like the genre. They don't like who's in it. Right. And it's not what they would particularly want to see. Right. So, I don't think there's any halftime show that's terrible. I think they're all really good if you're open music, and appreciate music.
If you appreciate music,
they're all very good.
And and listen to this. This is the first time that the NFL has evolved. The NBA has evolved a long time ago, right? Regarding their halftime entertainment and their overall experience. The NFL finally said, okay, let's give the people what they want to hear. And again, it was a success. There's absolutely nothing wrong about this past weekend.
Yeah, the only thing missing for me was, Ice Cube should have been in 50 Cent's place. That's to me, that's a given. I mean, if you're thinking Dr. Dre, Snoop, Ice Cube and NWA put them on the map before Snoop even got there and the others. So that's really the only thing for me that kind of was missing is, Ice Cube in my mind, would have replaced 50 Cent.
Kathleen's here. She's saying she loved it, but it wasn't as amazing as Janet and Justin, which has its own controversy and its own.
Well, Kathleen's right in respects to you still can appreciate your favorite halftime show, right? It's based on who you liked, right? Some people will never forget Michael Jackson. Some people will absolutely never forget Beyonce and what's the guy's name? I forget his name. When it was three artists performing, and then obviously Prince.
Think about it. Think about it.
Right.
Just
think. And then Prince. Fans will never. And remember, it was raining.
In the rain. That's right.
So everybody has. Listen, I'll never forget Marvin Gaye singing the national anthem at the NBA finals. One of the greatest national anthems. No one would ever outdo Marvin Gaye's rendition of the national anthem. So everybody has their own thing. So Kathleen's right. You like what you like.
That's only second to Whitney Houston.
Yeah, I was going to say Whitney Houston too.
Marvin Gaye's is second to Whitney Houston.
No. We can debate that. We can debate that forever.
Yeah, I think too. Even exactly those the opening acts as well. I mean, and not necessarily on this, but I thought the country singer, who I had never even heard of her until she sang the national anthem, and I thought she did a phenomenal job.
She did a great job.
And I think that's often a song that gets botched. I mean, that's a tough one to sing. And it's tough because everybody's thinking, what? Whitney Houston. So to try to perform that, knowing that people are going to compare you to Whitney, has got to be tough.
Well, they're trying to keep up with Whitney, and they can't.
And it's, again, you say Whitney, I say Marvin, both absolutely incredible.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, and I think you can't, when you bring it back, I mean, Prince in the Rain singing Purple Rain. I mean, you can't, that's phenomenal. That's just something
that was divine intervention, right? That was a Hail Mary from the gods.
So great show. And now there's all talk about them going out on the tour. I thought that, let's talk, Eminem took the knee. But you know what? That was lost on me. I didn't get the significance of that because it was, I didn't catch it. I think that it was, I was drawn to Dr. Dre at the piano, and I kind of missed it. I think it could have been, I don't know, maybe it should have been done in a different, more strategic way. So, or maybe it was designed that way so that it wasn't as
in your face.
Yeah. Right. So
well,
I don't know.
Quite honestly, it obviously it's not lost to me as to why he did it, but I didn't even recognize it. I mean, I was just paying attention to the show, enjoying it. I didn't even recognize that he kneeled. So not until it was brought up after, it's not something that stood out to me.
Oh, I noticed it, but I immediately followed Dr. Dre to the piano because again, it's not a big deal. We've had that conversation.
Yep.
And if folks haven't evolved, right, regarding taking a knee, for those of our audience, let me educate you. Football players and most athletes, in order to show their coaches respect during practice, beginning of practice, or the end of practice, coach will say, gather around and take a knee. So if folks don't understand, taking a knee is a sign of respect in one way. Obviously, those who don't pay attention to at the end of football games, a certain small group of fellas who aren't running around like chickens with their head cut off, trying to exchange jerseys with the other team, right? And the other players and so forth. There's a group of guys that meet in the center of the football field. They take a knee and they prayed. So for those out there who want to believe the misinformation about why people take a knee, you really probably didn't participate in sports before, right? There is a significance to and a level of respect for taking a knee. Just
Well,
letting you know.
I agree. I agree with that. I understand what you're saying, but they're not the same thing. I'm with you, but they're not the same thing.
What's not the same thing?
The taking of the knee when you're at practice, listening to the coach or whatever,
Well, what are you comparing it to? You said it's not the
Kaepernick
same thing.
what Kaepernick and them were doing.
What
And I don't
Kaepernick what he was doing was taking a knee to bring attention to
Right.
an issue. That's what he was doing.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
He wasn't disrespecting the flag. He wasn't disrespecting the military. He was taking a knee because he started out sitting on the bench, and a former military person who was a football player, retired, who was part of the staff, said, hey, instead of sitting on the bench, why don't you take a knee? And that's what he did. That's exactly what happened. So for folks who don't know the full story, that's what happened.
Right, but what's the correlation that you're saying to taking a knee in prayer? And are you just saying it's just a sign of respect?
It's an easy response. It was easy for Colin Kaepernick to understand when his staff member or coach, again, I don't know, was he a weightlifting coach or just a position coach? But when they had the conversation about him sitting on the bench while the anthem was played, he said, no. Why don't you do this? Why don't we do what we normally do? Take a knee and then go from there. So that was their part of their conversation. I don't know the entire words of the conversation, but that's the gist of the conversation. Take a knee, and then he would feel better. The former military guy said he would feel better if you took a knee. And he did. Okay. So I correlate taking a knee as a level of respect, right? And so that's why I said it was easy for him to do so, because, again, if you played football for a long period of time, again, I never played organized basketball, so I have no idea if they take knees on that hard court or not. But I'm pretty sure they do, and I've seen them do it in soccer and other sports that are on, grass field or turf field. So taking the knee is part of the fabric of respect before practice, sometimes in the middle of practice, and definitely at the end of practice. So I can see how that happened. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay, but do you think that it's taken on a different connotation since then? I think now it's taken as and I'm not saying it's a sign of disrespect, but now it's a respectful form of protest.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's always been a respectful form. I mean, if you look at the 60s, yeah. It's always been a respectful, peaceful form of protest to be nonviolent, take a knee, stand, or sit in. I mean, they're all forms of respectful protest. All forms. He didn't invent that particular part. It's been going on for many years. Unfortunately, what he did was his camp, his team, didn't control the narrative of the conversation of what was going on. He made one statement and that was it. And in today's world, you have to reinforce the narrative of what and why you're doing something. That's where your PR team comes in. They didn't do that. And he made enough money as a quarterback where I'm sure his PR people could have had he had that conversation. I don't know. I just know they didn't control the narrative because the message got muddied very quickly. Because, again, look what people believe. People believe he was actually taking a knee because he was unhappy with the police. No, he was unhappy with the way the African Americans were being treated by the police. There was something specific he was upset about.
True.
So, and that was his way of protesting.
Agreed. So Isaiah is bringing up a different point, and not to take away from that, but it's going to lighten the tone a little bit. But Isaiah is saying, speaking of the halftime show, what do you think of this whole debate going on in social media about whether Bengals kicker Evan McPherson did the right thing by staying on the field to watch the halftime show over going with his team and being with his team in the locker room?
He's a kicker.
And a kid.
As long as he doesn't miss field goals, they don't care.
He's a kicker. Remember, kickers are different, a different teammate. They can do whatever they want as long as they make those kicks. It's not like he has to be in the locker room for a team meeting or a position meeting. Kickers are a different breed, right? So it's not a big deal.
You know, where when there's no halftime show, where are the kickers? They're out on the field early kicking.
Right.
So yeah, I mean it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. That's why you haven't heard anybody, any of the teammates, say anything about it. Kickers are different.
So I already love him. It just made him more endearing to me. He's just like, he's a 21-year-old kid living his best life. I love seeing him out there.
I mean,
watching, people who could be his parents, right? I mean, I thought it was fun.
So think of it this way: if you watch enough TV, sports talk TV or sports radio, you will hear previous players blatantly make the comment, they're not football players, they're kickers. So they don't care.
Well, gender, and you're right. However, there comes a time when one or two or three kickers earn the respect of their teammates where they don't identify them that way. The kicker from Baltimore, this particular kicker, let's go back in history. Ray Guy, who's the only punter in the Hall of Fame. He was a different kind of cat, right? So, if you're in the top 5 kickers in the league, you have a level of respect that you don't get lumped in with the other average kickers. So you can earn it, especially if you
make a open field tackle or do something
right?
outside of what it is that you do.
Ball off,
yeah.
The return kicker breaks free, and you don't just tackle him. You actually lay the wood on him, right? That's how you earn your stripes. You see a few kickers got guns on them, like they've been lifting weights, like they're in a muscle contest. Those guys are, they try to be tough because they're trying to gain the respect from their other teammates because they know what's being said about them. So yeah, that's part of the dynamic of being a kicker and a punter because both of them are on the same level, right?
Yeah, well, you can't win games without the kicker. So I don't know why they wouldn't be getting the same level of respect as anybody else. I mean, and oftentimes they're the dominating factor to a win in many instances, and we saw that all season. Let's say hi to some people who are tuning in. We got Dave. Hi guys. Hi Dave. Welcome to the show. Isaiah. Good evening, guys. Of course we have Justin here. He's here. Who else? Kathleen's in the house tonight, and Brandon's here. What's up, guys? David's here. David is saying, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, and I'm not sure who that is.
Adam Vinatieri.
Adam Vinatieri was a kicker for the Colts,
Patriots,
and the Patriots,
and
or just the Patriots.
Yeah. And Sebastian Jankowski is a punter. Kelvin's here. Good evening, guys. Good evening. And Justin has said this 100 times here on the side, so I'm going to bring it up. Here's another. We talked about it. I don't think that this is true, but Justin is saying the refs rigged the game. I don't think that's true. There was a controversial call, certainly.
There always is.
Yeah, there always is. So I don't think they rigged the game, but I don't know. I mean, to me, I don't understand why there are controversial calls at this point, because we have the playback cameras. Why aren't they? Why aren't it? Isn't every questionable call reviewed? And I'm not sure why it's even a controversy and why it even happens anymore.
Because people want to win.
Yeah.
They want their team to win. They're emotionally involved. They become a prisoner of the moment, and they don't. So it's
who does the referees?
No, the person
the fans.
The fans who are saying that the refs either rigged the game or made bad calls, or why did they make that call? Because they have a vested interest. They're either emotionally invested, monetarily invested on some level, right?
But why can't they review everything? I mean, when in a big game like that, why wouldn't the call be reviewed if it's questionable at all?
Because
you can't review flags.
Okay.
There's certain things you can't review. You can review
right.
You can review what would be considered a hit that is to the head, something like that. Something like that can be reviewed, but you can't review a holding penalty or something like that.
No.
Otherwise they'd be reviewing the entire game. There'd be no game if they did that.
Now what happens, what they do, when the refs get together, they can decide at that moment that they're picking up the flag.
Yeah.
But actual reviewing the play in order to pick up the flag, they don't do that. They make a decision on the spot. Oh no, it wasn't what you thought you saw. Fine. And you've seen that, right? You've seen them say inadvertent flag. There was no foul on the play. Boom, boom, boom. And then they keep it moving. But if you reviewed every play, it would be a 6-hour game.
Yeah. So
and that's what the NFL doesn't want.
Yeah. So that's what David's saying. They tried to make, I'm not sure what PI
pass
stands.
Interference.
Oh, pass interference reviewable for a season. It was terrible. And he's saying they did that the season after that missed pass interference on the Vikings versus the Saints in the playoffs.
Yep.
All right. Well,
it's part of the game. But again, the plays that people are talking about is not the reason Cincinnati lost the game. The reason Cincinnati lost the game is because their defensive back didn't defend the wide receiver and prevent him from catching the touchdown. That's why they lost. You don't win because they throw a flag and then they say, okay, because of the penalty, you get to walk in the end zone and it's a touchdown.
Well, yeah.
Right?
Well, what I found to be, so what do you think about the penalty? What do you think about the penalty that for the player who came on the field in his street clothes?
You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah,
that was pretty crucial. 10 yards at the almost in the end zone. That was a pretty tough call.
Yeah, you can't.
You know how long that rule's been in place?
No.
Easily 15 or 20 years. Easily.
Yeah, if you're not on the field already, and the bad thing is he's not even in uniform, so he's not even playing.
Right.
So, but if you're not on the field already, everybody can't just rush the field because of a great play.
Can't do
that.
So we have Kelvin saying bad calls and no calls, unfortunately, is just part of the game. And actually, it looks like Brandon jumped on and behind backstage, and I'm going to add him to the stream, and he wants to contribute. So let's welcome him to the show. Hey, Brandon, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
You had a bad.
There we go.
Yeah, we had a bad connection.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I just got home. But I got a question, and maybe Bull D, you might be able to answer this best. The biggest play second half for that touchdown face mask, that was it called? Aren't all touchdowns reviewed, and could they have called the penalty after that?
Well, you were breaking up, but I think I know which question you were asking. On the play where Ramsey, the defensive back from the Rams, got his face mask pulled, and the receiver caught the ball and for Cincinnati and scored the touchdown. I think what you're asking is, I think what he was asking is, should that play have been reviewed and a penalty thrown? No. No. If a flag would have been thrown because the ref assumed that the defensive back interfered or vice versa, then that touchdown could have been called back. But because there was no flag, it's just one of those unfortunate situations where they got away with it because it happens. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. It does happen. I was just wondering if they could have thrown a flag after they reviewed it.
No,
but remember, they didn't review it. They reviewed it in terms of they showed the review of the play to show people how the touchdown happened. But
I thought all touchdowns were under review. So
not for a penalty though.
No. All touchdowns are under review when you're in the red zone.
Oh, in the red zone. Okay. So there's a little fine print to that. Okay.
But a penalty still wouldn't be reviewed even if you're in the red zone. Every score is reviewed for whether somebody's in bounds, whether they get across the goal line, things like that, but not for a penalty.
Yeah, and he was clear. First of all, he was outside the red zone because it was a 75 yard.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I didn't know if that was any other things. So
and he didn't get near the sideline to review it to see if he stepped out of bounds.
Yep.
Right. So there was the only thing was missed on that play, which is what we call a bang bang play.
Yep.
Was the fact that he pulled the face mask. And it's in real time. Can you imagine? They missed it because it happened. Oh yeah,
no doubt they missed it. I just wanted that because I thought all plays were reviewed. I didn't know it was just inside the red zone. So okay,
inside the red zone, or when it's close to the pylon, or the runner or receiver might have stepped out of bounds. Other than that, they just let it go.
Okay.
Great question, though, Big B. Great question. Yep.
All right.
So
what do we want to talk about next? You want to jump into the Olympics, or we want to talk about the game a little bit?
Well, no. Let's wrap up football because it's the end of the season. So let's wrap up football. We talked about the halftime show. Let's talk about the commercials.
All right. You taking off?
I have two commercials.
I'll hang out for a little bit.
Okay.
I have two commercials that were my favorite. Actually three. The first one was the Verizon commercial with Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, I love that movie. I'd love to see that.
Cable Guy, right?
Yeah, it was fun.
But here's the reason why I liked it. What was the apartment owner? What was the address of the apartment owner?
I don't remember.
42.
Ah. I missed it.
Yep.
In the movie,
I wonder why he likes that number.
Yeah, baby. I noticed 42s wherever. That's the first thing I noticed when she opened the door and they went to the reverse shot. I was like, oh, I like this commercial. So anyway, that was my first one. The second one was the Michelob with all the pros bowling, Peyton Manning. With Serena coming in, game time. Oh, great commercial. And then number 3 with the babies.
I like the babies.
That
was good.
That was cute. Keep your eyes on the road, or something like the baby in the back seat said. Oh, that was pretty funny. So what was your commercials?
My favorite turned out to be I liked those commercials, but then I liked when Paul Rudd and I forgot the other guy's name come in with the Lay's commercial, and they were going through all those scenarios where they had lived through all those memories together, and they were supposed to be happy memories, and they were like these precarious situations. I like Paul Rudd, and what's the other guy's name? I totally forgot it. It's escaping me, but.
He's the one that married the ghost.
Right, the zombie. She wasn't whatever she was. Yeah, that
Whatever
was.
she was, right,
Yeah,
right.
I like
Yeah,
that one. I
yeah.
like that one a lot. What about you? What about you, Adrian?
I'm not a
Oh,
commercial focused guy on the Super
oh
Bowl,
my
but
God.
I'll tell you. So I'll tell you the one that caught my eye and my interest is I'm a big Sopranos fan.
Oh, that
Oh,
was pretty
So
cool.
I like that
so
one too.
the Chevy
Yeah.
the Chevy Silverado EV with Meadow Soprano driving, and then she getting out, and Anthony Jr.'s there. So that one definitely caught my eye. Um,
He grew up, didn't he? He's all taller than her. He done lost some of
yeah,
that baby
yeah,
fat.
yeah. I was ready to hop on HBO Max and throw on a episode of The Sopranos at that point.
I was too. That was that. I forgot about that one, but that was one of my favorite. That was tied for my favorite too. I like that, and I like seeing her. You know, she struggled.
Yeah, she
She
has.
struggled after the Sopranos, and even during the Sopranos. So I like to see her on there, and I love that. You know, they genuinely seem to have a great affection for one another. So I like that.
What about you, Big B?
I'm always a sucker for the animal commercials. So I like the one where they're in the forest and all the animals are eating the Doritos. I thought that was pretty cute. But to me, over the last few years, the commercials just haven't added up to like they were back in the '90s and stuff. They're not as funny as they used to be. I think they're losing a little bit of that. So
I'd agree. I agree with
I do
that.
too. Even the Budweiser's commercials that are you typically so iconic. I didn't love this year's. You know, I think they, tried to be inclusive of, Native Americans, and I think it missed the mark a little bit. Whatever the message was, I think it was too subtle, or I'm not sure. It just didn't resonate with me the way that I would have hoped that it would.
well, that one commercial that they had the scan bar on there where you're supposed to scan the code, I guess that like shut down Coinbase's app because that's what it was for. So,
All right.
it was a little
Because people actually engaged,
Yep.
right?
Yep, exactly.
People actually engaged. I didn't put my phone up and scan it, but
No, I
obviously
didn't either.
Millions of people did because it shut the site down.
Yep.
Well,
But
Calvin's
B, you're on to something because it's all about what the advertisers are trying to do regarding capture the attention. So you're talking about how they were funny, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they shifted from funny to, what was the word you used, superstar? They're trying to pull at your heartstrings a little bit now, right? So they're going for a different message. So every 10 years, that message shifts a little bit or a lot. So they're trying to find their sweet spot, because remember, we in society are growing and evolving about how we have conversations about a lot of different things. So they're trying to navigate and find what works. So for me, what really worked was the Michelob commercial with all the pro athletes at the bowling alley. That worked for me.
Yep, that was a good one.
I like that one. But I think part of the issue is, of course, like you said, we're growing and evolving, but we're also, it seems to be, the populace is so much more sensitive. You can't talk about, you almost can't talk about anything without offending somebody. Even, we can't do jokes the way we used to do, because the population is so diverse, and comedy is usually, a lot of comedy is at the expense of another group, not intended to be inflammatory or hurtful, but with cancel culture, organizations can't take the risks that they used to be able to take.
I really think that all changed after the whole Timberlake, Janet Jackson thing, is when everybody got, oh, we can't do that. That's going to be a little racy here. So I think that's where a lot of these commercials have turned since then.
Well, it's crazy with with what you see on TV these days. Please.
Yeah.
Nobody has anything to say. They'll put just about anything on TV these days.
Like I say, they're trying to find the sweet spot, and specifically when you're paying $7 million for a 30-second commercial,
7 million, jeez.
right? They're trying to find a sweet spot. So everybody's trying to find a way. Again, we know animals is a draw, babies are a draw, right? Food is a draw. So,
Yep.
but they again, and beer, the beer commercial, the Budweiser horse commercial
Yep.
with the dog, that was a good one, right? So they're just trying to find their sweet spot. So eventually, hopefully the next Super Bowl, all 10 or 20 or 30 commercials will be, talked about. But, I had 3 or 4 that I thought were great.
Well, here's something that I found to be very intriguing, that we're not talking about beer anymore. Almost all of the Budweiser commercials, it's all about hard seltzer. That's like the newest thing. We're not talking about beer. There was the new thing that I forget. I think it was Budweiser, and now they're having hard soda. It's hard soda. That's interesting, right? Now they have classic cola, orange soda. I was even thinking, I want to try that.
They're trying to appeal to the millennial David Farrises of the world, who walks in here drinking all these seltzers and are like, "What's that you're drinking?"
So we just want to make sure I acknowledge Mr. Sanders is here. Hi, Mr. Sanders. It's good to see you. I'm curious to know, is Mr. Sanders breaking out a hard seltzer?
No, my pops doesn't drink.
Well, the smart man then probably. So I think that's interesting. We've really changed. We've changed. I mean, it used to be for a long time we segued from beer to light beer. Bud Light overtook the scene for so many years. Now we're at the hard seltzers and hard colas. So, all right.
They should have thrown a John Madden commercial in there just for old time's sake.
And listen, that would have been incredible.
It would have.
That would have been.
But they're too busy out thinking what, you know what I mean? So You're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And Madden should be on the cover of Madden this upcoming year, I think.
You know what? That's a good idea.
I think there was a tribute to Madden that was on Monday night. I forgot to tape it, but I'm pretty sure I could find it on,
Different from the first one that they did?
Yeah, it was an actual tribute, not just the documentary that they did, the one that we saw. It was an actual tribute. So it was from the NFL, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm pretty sure they'll re-show it. So I just got to look it up. I wrote it down, but I was too busy.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. And not to, I thought it was, well, I mean, since we're still on football, I do want to shout out, this week you made that post, Modine, about, Black History Month and Brian Piccolo and Gail.
That was a great post.
That was a great post. And that's a great, anybody looking, just the friendship, I just love that story on so many levels. So yeah, I encourage people, since we're talking about television, and, to check out the movie,
Brian Song. That's one of the great movies. Yeah.
And it was funny. This summer I was cleaning out my basement, and, I had this bunch of old books that I was donating, and I just could not get rid of that book. It's ancient.
She actually has the autobiography called I Am Third, which is the book that Gale Sayers wrote, which was the inspiration for the movie. His actual autobiography he wrote, and it debuted 1970, and the movie came out a year and a half late 1971.
And I'm thinking maybe that book belonged to my father. I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, I have that book, and I've kept it and carried it from house to apartment to apartment, house to house, and I still have it. So
that book is on my reading list, which means I am not going to ask you to mail it to me. We're going to meet halfway in New York. We're going to meet in New York, and you're going to hand me that book so I can take it, and then I'll give it back to you in your hands to make sure it's in safekeeping, because that book is on my reading list, and you can't find it anywhere.
Really? Okay. All right. I'll bubble wrap it, and I'll hand it off to you.
Yep. I mean, it's very hard to get.
Maybe I might have to sell it on eBay then. If it is, how much is it worth? How much is it worth? Cody?
You better wait till I read it. Like, and listen, I'm being serious. I have a teammate from Villanova who has the book. He told me he had the book. I said, listen, if you don't mind, I'd like to read it. He goes, yeah, no problem. I've emailed him 100 times. He will not reply to my email because he doesn't want to
Really?
give it up. He does not want to give it up because maybe he thinks I'm going to keep it. But he
All
has
right.
the book too. I've been asking him for 4 years to let me read that book, and he has not responded. So I'm mad at him.
All right, I gotta find the book now. I hope I'm not misspeaking and it hasn't disappeared. I haven't seen it. I'm gonna have to look for it.
Yep. So I'm definitely don't forget me.
No, I won't.
So
You
let's
won't
wrap up. Let's wrap up football with the Hall of Fame list.
Kelvin's. All right, the Hall of Fame list. Okay.
The 22 Hall of Fame. The only person I can think of off the top of my head is Dick Vermeil is going into the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's you can probably pull that up, Ferris, but it's a good list. But I remember Dick Vermeil because he used to
I
coach
remember
the
him too.
Eagles, and then he used to coach the Rams when they were in
Yep.
St. Louis. So he's that's well deserved.
And I remember him because when he was standing on the field with the rest of the players, he looked totally out of place. Right? We had these young, strapping men like all round up, and then we had Dick at the end. He looked out of place, like he was their, I don't know, their grandfather or something. So
And
I got to smile at that.
and he was part of the movie of Vince Papale when they made the movie with Mark Wahlberg.
Invincible.
Invincible.
Yeah, another great movie.
That was a great movie, yes.
Coach Vermeil, that was either his first or second year coaching the Eagles when Vince Papale tried out and made the team, which is based on the movie and his life story.
Yeah.
So, and Vince is a good guy. We have a running joke. He graduated from St. Joe's, which is Joe kind of around the corner from down the street, round the corner from Villanova. They're part of the Big Five, so they, it's competition. So he's a St. Joe's grad. I'm a Nova grad. So we shoot zingers at each other when we see each other because of that rivalry. He's a good guy.
So you want the Hall of Fame list for this year?
Yep.
DeMarcus Ware,
Yep.
Torrey Holt,
Rams, right?
mm-hmm.
Yep.
Richard Seymour, defensive end,
Pats.
defensive tackle,
Patriots.
Pats and Raiders.
Patriots, yeah, and Raiders.
Probably one of the best offensive tackles ever, Tony Boselli.
From Jacksonville.
Mm-hmm. That's the list.
That's the list.
And then
That's
there's
it?
a few for the honors committee or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you have that's the normal Hall of Famers, and you have the honors, and then you have the retired, media guys or special Hall of Fame folks. Any other names that you pulled for those two categories?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. It wasn't on the
Like
map.
if you find Dick Vermeil, if you find Dick, you should be able to find those other names.
Yeah, there was an old Raider. I can't think of his name right now that was in there. Oh, God dang it. One of our newest members of our Coast to Coast team wanted him in and got in, and I can't think of his name right now.
You know what position
Okay,
he
here we
played?
go.
What do you got?
So we have the older guys you were talking about, Cliff Branch,
There we go.
Yep, that's it.
Raiders,
That's him, Cliff Branch.
Yep.
Leroy Butler,
Leroy Butler from my hometown, Jacksonville, Florida. How could I forget that?
mm-hmm.
Played for Green Bay Packers.
Yep.
Yep.
Art McNally,
Yep.
Sam Mills,
Middle linebacker. Saints and the Panthers.
Panthers, Richard Seymour,
Yep.
Yep.
and Dick Vermeil, obviously,
Yep.
and Bryant Young, Niners.
Okay.
Good list. Good list.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cliff Branch, I like Cliff Branch.
Oh, Cliff
in that list.
Oh, Cliff Branch.
Yeah.
With Bolitnikoff and
Oh, yeah.
the Snake.
And Casper.
Oh, come on. And Casper.
Dave Casper.
Dave Casper, the ghost.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that's when I used to watch the Raiders.
Yep, we all did.
That was a 1970s team with
Do you get-
John Madden, the coach.
Do you guys think it's hard? It's NFL Hall of Fame is the hardest Hall of Fame to get into.
Oh, by far.
I agree.
No, Major League Baseball is harder.
Ooh,
Major League Baseball is harder.
Well, we don't have time for a debate on that one, but
no, we don't.
basketball is easier.
Well, yeah,
I
I'm
know
not.
that.
I'm not debating it, but I do think Major League Baseball is harder. I don't think it's
Right.
easy to get in the NFL. Don't get me wrong. I didn't mean
Right.
that.
No, I know what you mean. I can see your point on it. I mean,
Yeah, baseball, you have to have those numbers. If you don't have those numbers, it makes it difficult. Plus, if you don't get along with the media, it makes it a little bit more difficult.
yep.
The process to get into the NFL Hall of Fame is different than the process of getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two different processes. They're not the same. Right?
Yep.
And basketball, again, I'll say is definitely easier because
Yeah.
they're adding
Well,
another 25. They're adding another 25 to the all-time list. So it's going to go from 50 to the 75 all-time NBA players.
But the football, you have to have a minimum of what? 4 people voted in, or else there's no Hall of Fame. Ain't there a minimum for the
again,
NFL?
Say that again. You were breaking up, Big B.
Ain't there a minimum of like 5 guys have to be elected to the NFL Hall of Fame for them to have the Hall of Fame?
Each year,
I thought there was.
I think
Well,
there is.
the
I think
process-
there is something like
The
that.
process is that you actually have to have a, lack of a better word, a support group or a group of people who fight for you to get nominated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not just oh, you've been out of the league 5 years and your name is automatically put on the list. You actually have to have a team of people who what's the word in politics when you have folks, they have to lobby for you, campaign and lobby for you to get on the list. So there's a number of things that goes on behind the scenes that we don't know. And they showed like a 5 or 10 minute, and it could have been like 5 or 10 years ago, a block, right, of time showing how that works. But that's how the sausage is made. And it's obviously easy for people like a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady when it's his time and the guys. But, for some people it's more difficult now because once you get on the list, then the next phase is the people that are a part of the committee that vote, right? So you got to go from lobbying to get on the list, and then once you get on the list, whether or not you get voted in on that first ballot, second ballot, third ballot, and then there's only so many ballots that, and then it's time's up. It's a process.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of time's up, we got 5 minutes. What do we want to talk about? Do we want to talk a little bit about our special on next Friday? I mean Monday.
Well, absolutely, we got to talk about that.
Because we don't really have time to delve into the Olympics. Let's talk about Sha'Carri Richardson quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's an important story.
Absolutely.
We had the Russian, and I don't know her name offhand.
Camila Valieva.
Oh yeah, so she was cleared to.
He was rehearsing that, by the way.
I'm from Jersey. I don't have to rehearse it. I can just say it.
So she was cleared in a very controversial decision to be able to compete at the Olympics, the IOC, and then Sha'Carri Richardson. She was prohibited from competing in the Summer Olympics, and this young lady is. I'm not sure if she has won the gold, but she's certainly poised to win the gold if she hasn't already. The expectation is that she's going to win, and she is phenomenal. But yeah, Calvin is saying I'd bring that up on it, Adrian. Thankfully, he is. But I agree with Sha'Carri. I don't think she should have been able to compete. I think that it was unfair. Like we've always said, rules are rules. The IOC should have upheld their decision, or they didn't make a decision, but they should have went along with the precedent that they had already set in regard to the Summer Olympics and those individuals who were, and I don't remember the other young woman who claimed that the burrito she had was tainted. Remember that story?
In the past summer, right? She ate a burrito from a pickup. What do you call it? A food truck.
The food truck, and that the meat was tainted with the banned substance. I forget what it was, and whether that was true or not. We're not here to debate that. But the reality was, those women came in, and especially in Sha'Carri Richardson, she had a compelling story. Her mother had died. I believe wasn't it marijuana, THC? Something that wasn't even a performing enhancing drug. It wasn't a performing enhancing drug, and there was no evidence, and it had been quite some time. But THC stays in your system for at least 30 days. I just thought it was unfair, and I totally agree with her stance and position on it.
Yeah, she's got a legitimate beef. There's no doubt about it. I mean, getting banned because of marijuana, which is not going to enhance anything. I can understand why she's totally upset.
And the young woman, the young girl, she's only 15. They said they took her age into account, but all Olympians are pretty young. But her story, kind of was reminiscent of the burrito. She said, it had been it was whatever the substance was. It was also something that was be found in her grandfather's medication, and maybe he drank from a glass, she drank from a glass, his saliva could have been on it. I don't know. I thought it was very far reaching, and I find it hard to believe that one sip from the same glass would be enough to prompt a reading on a test. But we don't make the rules, but
it's a shame because she's 15 years old. But what's really a shame is she's from Russia, and the Russians are known for cheating.
Well, the reason they're called the Russian Olympic Committee is because they can't compete
under the
Russian flag because Russia is under sanctions, for lack of a better word, because of their history, and they
all
cheat.
The time.
So, yeah.
So even if that story she's telling is not true, the reason it's not true is more than likely they're telling her to tell that story. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame, and it affects everybody else.
And what a poor example to be that kind of around. What a poor moral example and ethical position you're putting a young 15-year-old woman in.
Yeah.
Not even a woman, a girl. She's not a woman. She's a girl. She's
borderline child abuse from the Russians. They can't be trusted. They need to be kicked out. Kick Russia out. Let somebody else take over. If there's a good athlete coming from Russia, let them train under another country in another country's territory because they have the moral ethics to train them right and not cheat. But you can't trust Russia.
Or give them a sanction that's meaningful. Not, you can't compete, but come in under a different name and then be able to compete. I mean, they're sanctioned, they're banned, they're essentially banned, but the ban is meaningless because they're still allowed to come in and still come in with unethical, illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, but unethical and what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think, and it's they're breaking the rules and the regulations. Whether it's illegal or not, I don't know. But
and the IOC needs to step up. They need to step up because it's on them. They make the rules. Why are you bending the rules for one for one group or organization or country, but not bending the rules for someone else. It's not, I mean, obviously, it's just not fair. If you're
Agreed.
going to suspend people, suspend them all and let the folks who have a clean body compete and let the winners win.
Agreed.
That's fair.
And
Yep.
if I were an athlete, I'd want to win on my own merit. You know what? Isn't it tainted if you're winning with when you're being leveraged in a way that's unfair? And I assume that there are people who slide under the radar because their drug tests are random. Not everybody gets tested consistently, and I'm sure that there are people who are missed, but I still wouldn't want to win. It's reminiscent too of, you know, the doping scandal in the MLB, you know, when everybody was at the top of the home run and the steroid controversy. I don't know. I think I'd want to win. It's one thing you want to win, but you're breaking records, and don't you carry that with you, knowing you broke all these records, but you didn't do it legitimately. I mean, that's a heavy burden to carry, in my opinion.
And I agree with you. I think it's kind of, and I'm not making excuses here, but I think it's kind of tough. It was so widespread in Major League Baseball, is what we found out, that at a certain point, if you're out there competing as well, you probably get that feeling that you got to try to keep up with the Joneses somehow. It is how you're making your living. And like I said, I'm not condoning it. But I think when it's as widespread and as big as it was, I think it's probably kind of hard not to go that route when, you know, there are people that you would have thought were doing it that were actually doing it. So
Agree. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. You know.
And I think it's different when you're doing it. I suppose it's different when you're doing it for a paycheck. You know.
Yeah.
And you have to be competitive in that field. And if everybody else is doing it, how can you compete? You can't compete at that level. So I get it.
It's got to be a tough decision to have to make. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it will test your moral compass very, very highly.
Yeah, true.
What are you sporting? What hat
Who's that?
and what jacket?
Oh, this is my old Gwinnett Baseball Academy hat and my Spike 9 baseball for my academy.
Oh, okay.
That I sold.
It kind of looked like the Spurs logo from a distance.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
No.
I see what you're
And
saying.
so,
Yeah.
You know, so what's
on the
cool
other
about
side.
these are David, that comes on here with my son David, he created this logo and he created this logo. He created both of the logos.
That is
So
cool.
yeah, David's
Yeah.
David's very talented.
That's why I asked, because I thought, I was like, he's not a Spurs fan.
Yeah, when I started the business, I said to David, I was like, hey man, I need a logo. And he had it done pretty quickly. Go back a little farther, when AJ was playing 12U baseball and David was like 14, we were going to Cooperstown, which is the biggest baseball tournament. You're probably familiar with it, Brandon. Cooperstown Dream Park. And everybody, they trade pins just like Little League World Series and that type of stuff. Well, we're at practice one day and my wife says to David, hey, David, we need a design for a pin to trade at Cooperstown. And within that hour and a half practice that we had, the pin was done.
Wow.
Done. I mean, so he's just.
Oh, we might need to reach out to him and get a Coast to Coast logo made up.
I don't know where he gets it from, because it's not me. I don't have that type of talent, but he does. So, yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
That's
Nice.
great. Does the Academy still use the same logo?
Oh yeah. So just before I sold it, I had actually trademarked both of the logos.
Yep.
So they actually purchased the logos as well. Yes.
Perfect. Nice.
Nice.
All right. Well, that's good to know. We have celebrities in our midst.
Woohoo!
All right. So another great show. We got a great treat when Brandon came on. Thank you, Brandon, for joining this show. I want to go back and make sure I capture everybody. Kathleen joined in tonight. Thank you. And Dave was here. Isaiah. Thanks, Isaiah. Who else do we have? Kelvin. Mr. Sanders, of course. Let's see. And hopefully I captured everybody. Did I said David, right? I think that's
let me talk about the Black History Month show on Monday.
All right, great.
Let me promote that. Oh, but before I do that, we'll hold off till next week to talk about the big trade between the Sixers and Brooklyn, right?
Okay.
So we'll hold off on that till next week. Tomorrow, Thursday, on ESPN at 7:00, they're going to air the Winnipeg Jets and the Seattle Kraken, which the Seattle is the new hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
And they're both, the game is going to be announced and the play-by-play will be announced by two African-Americans. First time in
Nice.
HL history, they're going to have minorities announce a hockey game. So that's a first for the NHL. So they're making progress. That's all we can hope for, is just making progress, right?
Great.
So that's a good deal. And then our Black History Month program, 8:00, President's Day, Monday, 8:00. We're going to have
Eastern Standard Time.
Eastern Standard Time. That is correct. We have to say that. And so we're gonna talk about contributions of athletes or folks who may be associated with sports in some way, shape, or form. So we're going to talk about the HBCUs. One of our guests is a sports writer, columnist, sports historian. So he's forgotten more about sports than I have in my pinky finger, right? Another guest is going to be a former University of Penn basketball player. So that was a good to pin him down because he's extremely busy. And we hope to have a couple of more guests. Actually, I know we're going to have another guest, but I'd rather hold that off until Monday. But it's going to be a good show.
And I'm hoping to have my friend Sonia, my dear friend Sonia from high school, whose father was actually one of the first Black politicians in the capital of New York in a time when it was really an anomaly. And unfortunately, he just passed away a few weeks ago. But I'm hoping that she'll come on. She's an attorney in Manhattan, and she's very impressive in her own right. And we have some interesting stories about our friendship and about the conversation about race and how unlikely friendships are formed. So hopefully she'll be available and she'll be on as well.
So that'll be our first annual Black History Month podcast program. So we're making first all the way around. It's going to be interesting. So tune in, folks.
And we're hoping Adrian's hoping to.
I'm trying to work on something that'll be pretty cool. So I will know by tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So we're looking forward to that too.
It's gonna be a good show.
And we're going to go for at least an hour, maybe two. So, Adrian, I don't know if that opens it up for you a little bit more.
Yeah, it depends on how many people we get. Absolutely. Yeah. So the more guests we get, we'll take it. We'll take it to the second hour. Absolutely. Everybody knows we can talk, so we could go all night. Could be our first marathon show. Well, listen,
we just went 2 hours.
And guess what? That 2 hour Super Bowl show did not seem like it was 2 hours. That seemed like it went by fast.
It did.
Well, even this hour, we're already at an hour and 10 minutes. It goes by so quickly.
Really does.
So hopefully, and I think that those guests will be compelling. They're not necessarily dedicated to sports. They're across all genres. We do have some athletes, but we're not limiting ourselves to that. Obviously, I'd love to have a musician on. So maybe we can get Mr. Sanders on. Who knows? Kelvin saying, looking forward to it. Going to be a great show. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks, Kelvin. So. Yeah, so we'll hopefully we'll have some twists and surprises, and it'll be a great show. Well, I'm sure it'll be a great show. But All right. All right. So, of course, Modine's gearing up for basketball season. But of course, I got to thank my man behind the scenes. No show is complete without a little bit of crispy bacon. So, of course, thanks, Chris, for producing and being our main man behind the scenes. And thanks, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. Another bonus episode. You get to see our lovely faces again this week twice. So we'll see you. We'll see you soon. You can play us out, guys.